Chapter 1. She doesn't remember, or does she? Dr. Orion Kale stood in front of the reinforced glass enclosure, fingers resting on the biometric scanner. A faint hum vibrated through the sterile chamber as the lights above flickered, a usual glitch on Eden's reach, though it made everything feel more haunted than high-tech. Inside, the girl sat cross-legged on the floor, bare feet tucked under her gray station-issue jumpsuit. 17, maybe. Too young for what the scans had shown. She looked up. Her eyes, green, but flecked with a shimmer that no human genome database could explain, locked on Orion like she knew him. But she didn't speak. Not yet. Vitals, he asked the AI console. Subject 01, HR steady. EG variance increasing. Cortical activity. Pause, Orion muttered. Too much noise. The girl tilted her head. Is that why you keep checking me? The noise? Orion flinched. You're not supposed to speak unless prompted. I wasn't, she said simply. I was, remembering. A cold ripple worked its way down his spine. He tapped his wrist pad. Recording enabled. Subject speech timestamped. He stepped closer to the glass. What do you remember? The girl blinked slowly. A boy. Red skies. Then cold. So cold I think I forgot my name. You don't have a name, Orion replied, softer than intended. They just call you Vera. Do you call me Vera? She asked. Orion hesitated. It's easier than Subject 01. A smile. Just a flicker. Then nothing. The lab's inner doors opened with a hiss. Kale's assistant, Rena, appeared, tablet in hand. She's registering new language matrices again. Not from our modules, she said, tossing a data slate toward him. And it's not just baseline mimicry, she's constructing syntax. Full fluency. Orion frowned. What language? Rena shrugged. That's the thing. Zenthary. His hand froze over the slate. That's impossible. She asked for Rezhan water this morning. That's a word native to Zenthary colonials. How would she even know that unless she's heard it before, Orion finished. And we've never exposed her to any Zenthary media. Rena nodded. Or any media, period. They stared at the glass again. Vera had her hand on the floor, tracing something invisible. Her fingers danced across the sterile metal like it had a story only she could read. Orion whispered, Who are you, Vera? Later that cycle, Orion reviewed her blood work in the biometric lab. Her cell regeneration was absurd. No trace of scarring from yesterday's 4 insertion. Enzyme regulation that outpaced elite human athletes. And then there was her neural mapping. Her hippocampus, too dense. The AI tried to simulate a potential genetic sequence, but it kept crashing. This wasn't evolution. This was, had been, engineered. And yet, no record existed of her creation. No files, no authorization, not even in the black site logs. Someone had wiped it clean. The door buzzed. A sharp, clipped voice rang out from the comms. Eden's Reach, prepare for immediate Union inspection. This is Admiral Velrix Neruin. Compliance is mandatory. Rena appeared in the doorway, pale. They're scanning us already. Orion snapped his data screen shut. Lock all subject data behind medical quarantine. Transfer observation records to off-grid storage. You think they know? I think someone told them. Back in the observation wing, Vera stood near the glass, face almost touching the surface. Orion entered slowly, his boots echoing. She turned before he could speak. You're worried. He didn't answer. They're coming for me. His breath caught. Vera, who told you that? I dreamed it. But it felt like remembering. Her hand lifted and touched the wall between them. The glass flexed. Not cracked. Flexed. Like pressure from something vast and careful. Orion staggered back. Vera watched him calmly. That shouldn't happen, should it? No, he said. No, it shouldn't. Rena burst in, breathless. They've docked. Armed security, minimum 20. Union enforcement. And they're asking for one thing, the unauthorized female subject. Orion looked at Vera again. She was just a teenager. Right? Chapter 2, The Truth Isn't in the Files. The silence in the med bay felt heavier now. Even the humming lights dimmed, as if Eden's reach anticipated what was coming. Dr. Orion Kale stood over the console, scrolling through encrypted data layers buried beneath system logs no one was supposed to access. Firewalls melted like wax under his credentials, old strings once tied to his days on Project Genova, a black operation he'd walked away from. He thought they'd shuttered it. He thought he had killed it. But Vera existed. The logs flickered, revealed fragments stitched from fragmented archives, subject type, HFY. Directive, Dormant Awakening Protocol. Objective, long-term genetic resilience. Then, source DNA flagged, unknown origin. Non-terrestrial. A chill broke across Orion's spine. He had never authorized anything with non-Earth DNA. No one in his team had. But the genome, it matched his early simulations, ones he'd abandoned as theoretical nightmares. He leaned against the counter. How did they even finish the splice? A voice broke the silence. You didn't want to finish it. Vera. She stood behind him, uninvited, barefoot, silent as vapor. I locked that wing, Orion said, steadying his voice. It doesn't matter, she replied. Locks aren't meant to keep me out. She held up her hand. A blue light flickered faintly across her fingertips, electromagnetic discharge. Harmless, for now. Orion swallowed hard. What are you? Her eyes searched his face. You already know. You wrote the first map. He turned toward her, stunned. You've read my research? I remember it. No one remembers being engineered, he snapped. I wasn't engineered. I was awakened. Orion's mouth dried. From what? Alarms blared across Eden's reach. Red lights strobed across the corridor walls. A voice rang overhead, mechanical and emotionless. Galactic Enforcement Boarding Protocol active. All biological subjects to be declared immediately. Rena's face appeared on the console, panic in her voice. Velrix is inside already. He's demanding we turn over the girl. Orion, he's got full authorization to terminate. Orion's jaw clenched. He doesn't understand what she is. If they provoke her. Vera placed a hand on his shoulder. I won't fight unless I have to. You don't get to decide that. Neither do they, she said calmly. Velrix stormed into the primary lab chamber, draped in Zenthari armor laced with anti-psionic fibers. His cybernetic arm clicked with every step. His troops followed like shadows, faceless, armored, pulse rifles drawn. Where's the prototype? He barked. Orion stood between him and the access corridor. She's a patient under medical protection. She's an illegal biological weapon. Under Union Resolution 19.7c, that makes her property of the Council. Orion's voice hardened. She isn't property. She's human. Velrix's second set of eyelids blinked. Barely. Before Orion could respond, one of the soldiers pulled Rena from behind a server bank. Blood trickled from her lip. She had resisted. You think hiding her gives you leverage? Velrix sneered. You're stalling. I'm protecting a sentient being, Orion said. Velrix raised a clawed finger. You're delaying an execution. Behind them, the bulkhead slid open. Vera stepped into view. She didn't flinch. Didn't speak. Velrix raised his hand. Take her. They moved as one. Two soldiers rushed forward. The moment their boots hit the floor in front of her, something happened. A low-frequency hum vibrated through the metal. The lights flickered, and then blew out, shattering glass overhead. In the darkness, blue light illuminated Vera's form, rising from her spine like a pulse. Both soldiers collapsed mid-stride. Not unconscious. Frozen. Their suits hissed as their body temps dropped 10 degrees in seconds. She never raised a hand. Velrix's cyberarm powered up, humming with a charged spike. He aimed it at her heart. "I warned you," he said. She looked at him, and the glass in the walls cracked in spiderwebs. "You've seen war," she said softly. "But never an origin." The hum built again. Orion shouted, "Vera, stop." She blinked. And the station calmed. The flickering stopped. The soldiers gasped as air returned to their lungs. Their limbs moved again. Lights steadied. "I don't want to hurt anyone," Vera said. "But you're all pulling the wrong trigger." Velrix stared, stunned. Orion stepped beside her. "She's not a threat, Admiral. She's a mirror. You just don't like what's staring back." After the confrontation, Vera and Orion descended to Eden's long-sealed lower levels, the original Genova wing, buried beneath decommissioned labs. Rusted plaques still bore his name. "It's all here," he muttered, unlocking an old wall terminal. The data hissed alive. Stasis logs. Failed splices. Overwritten neural templates. A list of terminated subjects. But then, one single successful entry. Project VRA. Vital Evolutionary Reintegration Agent. No age. No birthplace. Just one chilling note, activated only if galactic threat scale exceeds containment. Lock until planetary species achieve pre-precursor awareness. Orion whispered, "You weren't made to be a soldier. You were made to survive what's coming." Vera nodded. "I remember now," she said. "Not everything. But enough." He turned to her. "What's coming?" Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Something that eats stars. And it already knows Earth's name." Chapter 3, Not Just Human Anymore. The subcore chamber had no windows, no cameras, and no official blueprints. It was where failed experiments were buried, beneath meters of steel, regulation, and shame. Dr. Orion Kale and Vera stood beneath the humming coils of Eden's Reach's original power grid. The walls pulsed faintly, reacting to her presence. Not the way machinery should. It was almost reverent. "You said something is coming," Orion said, trying to focus through the weight of the revelation. "What does that mean? A species? A fleet?" Vera placed her palm on the floor. The lights above dimmed and then shifted, casting faint patterns across the walls. Her voice was steady, deliberate. "Not a fleet. Not alive in the way we measure life. It doesn't invade, it consumes. Worlds vanish. Suns implode. Entire systems disappear, leaving only echoes." He frowned. "Like dark matter anomalies?" "No," she replied. "Like predators." Orion turned toward the core's old display terminal. The dusty screen sputtered, then brightened under her influence. Data scrolled, glyphs, coordinates, star charts, warnings. Warnings from Earth, buried by governments too afraid to share the truth. The threat was real. Approaching. Already past the Kuiper Belt. "You were meant to stop it?" he asked. She shook her head. "I was meant to survive it. And remember how." Above them, Admiral Velrix paced inside the command deck. His eyes flicked from screen to screen. Troop monitors. Life signs. Power grids. Status on the girl? A junior officer hesitated. "Alive. In the lower decks. But, sir, sensors are distorting near her. No tech interference. It's her." Velrix scowled. "She's manipulating the station?" "She is the station now," the officer whispered. Velrix didn't answer. His cybernetic arm flexed involuntarily. "Ready the arc rail. If she surfaces, we fire." Headshot. No warnings. Back below, Vera stood before a rusted biostasis pod. Inside, a hollow shell, one of the failures. Its skeleton partially fused with synthetic nerves, never stabilized. Orion looked away. We built graves disguised as miracles. Vera knelt, touching the glass gently. You tried to fix what was broken in your species. You just didn't know what was waiting to wake up. Then tell me, what are you? She turned, slowly. Her hair floated slightly as if gravity around her wasn't quite obeying the sane rules anymore. I was born human. But I carry something older. A memory locked inside our genome. It took thousands of years to surface. You just sped it up. A memory of what? Vera raised her hand. Thin strands of energy flickered between her fingers, visible, like threads of light folding through dimensions. Of what we used to be before the galaxy forgot us. Orion backed away, stunned. That's impossible. Humans weren't first. No, she said. But we were different. We adapted faster. Died harder. Created chaos where there should have been silence. And now? I'm the echo of that refusal to vanish. The sirens blared again. Valrix's voice cracked through the station-wide comms. This is your final warning. Return the girl, or we purge the deck. Vera turned toward Orion. You should leave. I'm not abandoning you. I'm not asking. You've done enough. More than anyone. Orion looked at her, really looked. She stood taller now. Eyes brighter. The air around her vibrated softly. Something within her had shifted. She wasn't just a girl anymore. She was becoming. I have to stay, he said quietly. She gave him a soft nod. Then watch. Valrix's soldiers dropped into the lower corridors. Helmets locked, visors flashing. The air was tense, thick. At the center of the hallway stood Vera, alone. Open fire. Valrix barked from the command deck. The arc rail powered up. It fired. A beam of concentrated energy ripped through the air, loud enough to rattle the station's core. But it never reached her. Vera lifted a single hand. The beam fractured mid-flight. The particles slowed, hovered, then reversed, unraveling back into silence. The soldiers froze. Vera stepped forward. With each step, their HUDs scrambled. Suits shut down. One by one, they collapsed, safe, unharmed, but offline. Valrix roared. Launch the override. Kill the core. The deck lights blinked. Then Vera's voice echoed across every speaker on Eden's reach. No. The override failed. Valrix's screen went black. When it came back on, she was there. Not physically. But her face filled the monitor. Calm. Lit with the power of a star not born from fusion. You came to destroy what you didn't understand, she said. But I'm not your enemy. Valrix spat. You're a threat to the Order. The Order needs to fear us again. Valrix reached for the emergency destruct. Vera's voice rang out. I rewired your failsafe 6 minutes ago. He froze. Return to your council. Tell them what you saw. Tell them Earth is not a child anymore. Back in the subcore, Orion leaned against a beam, staring at her. You could have killed them. I didn't. You stopped time. Redirected energy. You bent reality. Vera looked down at her hands. I bent myself. Reality followed. What now? She smiled faintly. Now, they remember who we are. Epilogue. A month later, a secret file circulated through high-tier galactic channels. Topic: Subject VRA. Status: unknown. Recommendation: do not engage. At the bottom, a final note from Admiral Valrix himself. She is not a weapon. She is the threshold. Chapter 4, The Threshold has a name. It had been 3 days since Admiral Velrix left Eden's reach. 3 days since the Galactic Union sent no follow-up ships. No scouts. No threats. Just silence. Eden's reach floated in that silence like a breath held too long. Inside the main observation dome, Dr. Orion Kale sat on a worn bench, watching the arc of Veritas 9 turn slowly below. A gas giant painted in gold and storm blue, once mysterious, now just background. Vera stood beside him, arms folded behind her back, her posture calm. The glass dome reflected her faintly, only it wasn't quite her anymore. The reflection moved a fraction slower than her real body. "I used to think I was supposed to save the world," Orion said. "And now?" He sighed. "Now I'm just hoping we have time left to save ourselves." Vera didn't answer. "Not right away." Then, softly, "You saved me." That wasn't nothing. In the days that followed the failed strike, Vera had begun integrating with the ship's core systems. Not by plugging in. She didn't need to. Wherever she walked, data reacted. Systems synced. She learned faster than the AI network could refresh its protocols. Rena watched her once with awe and whispered, "She's not learning anymore. She's remembering." Orion had no argument. The research logs Vera retrieved from the subcore told a deeper story, one hidden even from Orion during Genova's early stages. Human DNA, it seemed, had dormant regions untouched by millions of years of evolution. Not junk code. Just waiting. Old Earth myths, the gods of fire, stone, sky, they weren't fiction. They were garbled echoes of what humanity had been in some ancient cycle. Why now? Orion had asked her. Vera answered, "Because something old is waking up again." And humanity needed something older to meet it. On the 4th night, Eden's reach shook. No weapons. No impact. Just a ripple. Sensors showed nothing. No ships. No energy anomalies. Just a pulse from deep space. Direction, Sol system. Earth. Orion rushed to the central lab. Vera was already there, standing in front of the display. She didn't turn as he entered. "I felt it," she said. "What was it?" She finally looked at him, voice low. "A call. Something's opening." Orion stared at the readout. Earth's orbit showed a rising thermal distortion. Something massive. Not a weapon. A construct. Size unknown. Origin, underground. Rena appeared on the comm, picking up fragments of an old Earth broadcast inside the signal. It's a voice." "Let me hear it," Orion said. The speakers hissed, and then. "To any listening descendants, if you've unlocked her, you're not too late." Orion stared at Vera. "Is that from your creators?" She shook her head. "Our ancestors." The pulse spread. Within hours, deep space stations picked it up across 3 sectors. No language. Just a pressure. Like the universe had exhaled. And humanity, for the first time in centuries, wasn't being hunted. It was being watched. Vera's enhancements were no longer the anomaly. They were the start of something broader. A shift. Orion gathered the remaining crew that night. Most had fled when Velrix boarded. Only 6 remained. They stood in a small chamber near the observation dome, eyes fixed on Vera. Not with fear. Not anymore. With expectation. "I was made to survive what's coming," she told them. "But I can't do it alone. None of us can." One of the engineers, Sarah, asked, "Then what are we supposed to do?" Vera's gaze lifted toward the stars. "Remember. You were never small. You were made for more." A day later, a data packet arrived from Mars High Command. Encrypted. Untraceable. Inside, blueprints. Schematics for a new kind of vessel. Part organic. Part energy. Something that only Vera could interface with. The file was signed only with the symbol of an ancient Earth tribe, one long extinct. Orion ran simulations through the lab's models. The craft didn't obey current laws of propulsion. It folded space around itself. Like it remembered what physics used to be before they were written down. Vera smiled as it rendered. "It's not a ship," she said. "It's a key." "To what?" Orion asked. "To whatever locked the rest of us away." The final moment came 2 nights later. Vera stood once again in the subcore, now restructured into something like a living heart. The walls pulsed, not with power, but with purpose. She turned to Orion one last time. "I have to go," she said. "The threshold, it's not a door you can leave open forever." He stepped toward her. "Then don't go alone." She smiled. "I won't. I'll carry all of you with me." Orion looked down. In her hand, she held something he hadn't seen her create, an object, smooth and pulsing faintly. A shard of something, ancient. "What's that?" "Hope," she whispered. Outside, above the planet, space folded. Not like a wormhole. Not like any gateway. More like the universe bent in respect. A structure emerged, enormous, transparent, built of shifting geometry and patterns even Eden's sensors couldn't classify. Vera walked into it, barefoot, unafraid. And as it absorbed her, a final signal flashed across every galactic communication line in every known language. She's not just a girl. She's not just a weapon. She is the memory of what we were. And the reason they'll never forget us again.